Yay or Nay Show with Alex C. A sports show for sports fans by a sports fan. And now, here is Alex C.
All right, here we go. It is the Yay or Nay Show with Alex C., a sports show for sports fans by a sports fan. We got quite a few things to go over today. Dak Prescott starting it off. There's a story. I don't think this is really an important story. It's kind of why I kind of passed on it yesterday. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Dak Prescott passing Tony Romo for the most passing touchdowns in a season in Cowboys history. I mean, let's keep in mind first and foremost that he had an extra game to do it. All right, he had an extra game to do it. And what have I been saying about Dak Prescott all along? He is Tony Romo. All you did was retire Tony Romo to get Tony Romo. Big numbers, great stats, can't win any playoff games, can't win against teams with winning records. That is Dak Prescott. That is Tony Romo. Again, great for the record books, not much else. Didn't think this was a big deal. That's just my opinion. I just don't see this being that big of a deal because, again, you had an extra game to do it, and stats don't equal playoff victories, which obviously don't equal Super Bowl victories. Browns plan to move forward with Baker Mayfield as their quarterback. That's what the story is. The Browns will head into the offseason with the plans to retain Baker Mayfield as their quarterback for 2022, sources say. Coming off of a playoff run last season, Cleveland has stumbled to 7-9 this season as Mayfield tried to battle through a variety of significant injuries, throwing 7 interceptions in his last 3 games. Did you expect anything else? I mean, they picked up his 5th-year option. You got to ask yourself, who's going to be willing to pick up Baker Mayfield? Is anybody going to be willing to pick up Baker Mayfield? And reality is most people are not going to be interested in Baker Mayfield, and there really isn't a large amount of reasons why you would be interested in Baker Mayfield. He's actually a poor man's version of the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. So do you really want to go to a B-rated version of what the Vikings have? I mean, I'm just saying, they're not going to be able to get rid of him. I would imagine they're going to play him for one more season. Maybe pray, hope they get a little bit lucky, have a better season at least next year than what they had this year. But just going into the season knowing that they have no chance of making it to the promised land, they're going to have to find a more permanent solution to Baker Mayfield. TJ Watt ties an NFL single-season sack mark with 22.5 for a playoff-bound Pittsburgh Steelers team. Leaning against the white cinder block wall in the visitors' media room after beating the Baltimore Ravens in overtime 16-13, Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger had a message for the NFL. Give him half a sack, Roethlisberger said as he replaced outside linebacker TJ Watt on the podium. Start the petition. Look, I've said this a bunch of times. TJ Watt, is he somebody you really want to pay a large amount of money to? And is he somebody who you really want to have on your defense? My answer is no. Again, he can't stay healthy, can't stay on the field. I don't care if you can come in for 3 or 4 games or 5 games and play really good and put up a bunch of stats and get some sacks. If you can't stay healthy, if you can't play when I need you, if you can't be a difference maker, then there's no reason in the world why anybody should pay you an exorbitant amount of money in order to play football. Because, again, your inability to stay healthy tells me, TJ Watt, you're not that good of a football player. Because in order for you to be a good football player, you have to be on the football field. And season in, season out, you continue to be just like your brother, somebody who's undependable, unreliable, can't stay healthy, can't stay on the football field, so therefore you're not a difference maker. And I don't care if you come in against a crappy team like the Houston Texans and you get a bunch of sacks. That means absolutely nothing. It doesn't do anything to drive a team up to and through the playoffs when you can't stay healthy and be on the field. So Ben Roethlisberger saying TJ Watt deserves half a bag of money. More like, how about pay half of his ticket to send him home because you really don't want him on your football team? Not if he's going to command amount of money. Now, if you had him saying that, he would play for a reasonable amount of money, right? He wasn't trying to get superstar level type money. Then maybe I would decide on keeping TJ Watt. But since we all know that that's not the case, and TJ Watt's looking to get paid like a star, but he can't be on the field like a star, he doesn't make a difference like a star, I don't understand why anybody would want to pay him an exorbitant amount of money. I say if the Steelers released him today, there wouldn't be a whole lot of teams. There would be some, but there wouldn't be a whole lot of teams bidding for him. And there definitely wouldn't be a whole lot of teams willing to pay him, like a superstar player. Because again, if you can't be on the field, you're hardly a difference maker. Fact, not fiction. Charles Barkley ripping into Kyrie Irving over his part-time status. I don't know, what prompts Charles Barkley to say some of the things he says sometimes, but I just sometimes got to shake my head. From Kyrie Irving's refusal to be vaccinated to the Nets relenting and allowing their point guard to return on a part-time basis, Charles Barkley has all sorts of problems with Brooklyn. After Irving's season debut in the Nets win against Indiana, I almost said Indianapolis, on Wednesday, the TNT analyst ripped both the star and team on Thursday for enabling this unconventional marriage. I have an issue with the entire thing, Barkley said on Inside the NBA. Kyrie is a heck of a player, but to only play in road games, I don't think it's fair to the game, number one, but I think more importantly, I don't think it's fair to the team. The Nets agreed through October, November, and halfway through December until the COVID-19 cases started spiking and more than half the team was in health and safety protocols. They announced the unvaccinated Irving, who was not allowed to play in New York because of the local vaccine mandates, could rejoin the squad so they could add an additional road player. Look, I agree with the move by the Nets. I disagree with Charles Barkley. I think it's a great move for them. I've been talking about this at length. Bottom line is, away games are now like home games because when you're at home, what do? You get the benefit of a sixth man, which is the crowd. And when you're on the road, you get the benefit of a pair of fresh legs, and not only a pair of fresh legs, but a guy who's an actual superstar like Kyrie Irving. So now away games are just as good as home games. Why would you not want to take advantage of that? I wholeheartedly disagree with Charles Barkley. I don't think he's really thinking this through. Maybe he's just looking to get a hot take. I'm not really sure. But I absolutely disagree with Charles Barkley on this one. And a lot of times I agree with Charles Barkley. I think he's smart. I really do. I agree with a lot of the things he says. This just happens to be one of the times where I don't agree with his actual statement. An Antonio Brown story. Imagine that, everybody. So the headline reads, Antonio Brown minimized Tom Brady's achievements and suggested they are only friends because the quarterback needed him to win games. So the story goes, Antonio Brown said on a podcast that his relationship with Tom Brady is based on football. Brown said Tom Brady needed him to win games and pushed back on reports that Brady mentored him. After Brown walked off the field mid-game, Brady called for compassion for Brown. And remember, I talked about that because he was doing that in the post-game presser. During an appearance on the Full Send podcast on Friday, the embattled wide receiver Antonio Brown appeared to say his relationship with Tom Brady is based purely on football. Brown, who was officially cut by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after leaving the field mid-game on Sunday, said Brady is a friend, but stopped short of praising the 44-year-old quarterback. Look, I just think Antonio Brown, he is an equal opportunity ripper. If he's in your path, he's pretty much going to come right at you and try and rip you apart. You probably, in his mind, had something to do with his demise, with him not getting whatever it was he wanted, or with him getting mistreated. Again, to me, the question mark's still out there. Is it the fault of the team? Is it the fault of Antonio Brown? What really was the issue? Bruce Arians lied, said he didn't know what the issue was. Then all of a sudden he comes back and he's like, oh no, it was about, the number of targets. He's trying to get his money. Then he wanted his money guaranteed. And if he couldn't get guarantees, then he was mad because he wasn't getting targeted. But then you find out the facts, which are he only needed 55 more yards. He only needed one more touchdown. And that was each one of those that I just stated, a different bonus. And then for the third bonus, he needed 8 catches, and he still had a game and a half to do it. And Tom Brady showed you that he works with his players to make sure that they get their bonuses. That's why Tom Brady stayed in the game the other day to make sure that Gronk got his bonus. He obviously would have did the same thing for Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown knows this because Tom Brady did this last year for Antonio Brown to make sure that he got a $250,000 bonus. So he knew that was coming. So I have a hard time, just like Keyshawn Johnson and others have a hard time believing that Antonio Brown was all of a sudden trying to make a money grab. I think this all has to do with Bruce Arians, his arrogance, his foul use of language, telling a player to get the F out of here. Again, I'm surprised national media giving passes to Bruce Arians, but yet when it comes to other coaches, especially ones that come from the college level, they consistently and constantly say you can't treat NFL players like you treat college players. You can't talk to NFL players the way you treat college players because they're not the same. They're fully grown in the NFL, yet they have no problem with Bruce Arians treating Antonio Brown like he's a child and telling him to get the F out of here, which, by the way, I don't even know of many parents who do that anymore just because of the times that we currently live in today. So don't know why Bruce Arians is getting a pass. Don't know why Antonio Brown is the one that the media wants to blackball, make fun of, and minimize. But I disagree with them. I think they should do a better job of researching this, finding out what the real facts are. And no matter what, we know enough of the facts to know that Bruce Arians made a huge mistake in regards to how he handled Antonio Brown on the sidelines. I did a poll the other day. Most of the people that voted agree with me, and I would imagine I wouldn't have any problem getting that type of a result again because, again, it's only obvious Bruce Arians did a pathetic job in regards to dealing with Antonio Brown. You knew what you were getting when you signed him. You obviously were desperate, needed a wide receiver, were obviously willing to look all the other antics that he pulled with his previous teams. You knew about it. It's not like you didn't know about it. You allegedly gave him a, one-shot warning, telling him he only had one opportunity, and if he blew it, it was done. And yet he's had quite a few opportunities, showing you how Bruce Arians is full of it. He just likes to talk tough, but he's not tough. He can't back up what he talks. He just talks the talk, but he can't walk the walk because that's big mouth Bruce Arians. And then all of a sudden, for whatever the reason is, finally Bruce Arians becomes Bruce Arians, cops an attitude, tells Antonio Brown to get the F out of here. And I, again, will say this until this story dies. That was the wrong move. And Bruce Arians, like these other coaches that the national media likes to talk bad about all the time, has no right to talk to an NFL player that way. Fact, not fiction. Nobody can dispute the words that I just said. Absolutely nobody. NFL draft order for 2022. First round picks from 1 to 32, including the Jaguars, Lions, and Texans in the top 3. I'll just break down to you what the draft order is in fact going to be. Number 1, obviously, Jacksonville. Would you expect anything different? Number 2, the Detroit Lions at 3 and 13. Number 3, the Houston Texans. Number 4, the New York Jets will be on the draft board. Number 5, the New York Giants. They'll blow it again like they always do. And might I say, so will the New York Jets because that's what they always do. Number 6 will be the Carolina Panthers, a team that needs a lot of help. Number 7 will be the New York Giants. Number 8 will be the Atlanta Falcons. Number 9 will be the Denver Broncos. Number 10 will be the New York Jets. Number 11 will be the Washington Football Team. Number 12 will be the Minnesota Vikings. Number 13 will be the Cleveland Browns. Number 14 will be the Baltimore Ravens. Number 15 will be the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 16 will also be the Philadelphia Eagles. That's because of the trade that they had with Indy in order to send them their current quarterback. Los Angeles Chargers will come in at number 17 in the draft. The number 18 spot will be the New Orleans Saints. And then number 19 will be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 20 will be Philadelphia. 21 will be Vegas. 22 will be Miami. 23 will be New England. 24 will be Cincinnati. 25 will be the Arizona Cardinals. 26 will be the Detroit Lions. 27 will be the Buffalo Bills. 28 will be the Dallas Cowboys. 29, it'll be the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 30 will be Tampa Bay. 31 will be Tennessee. And 32 will be the Green Bay Packers. That is the draft order for 2022. All right, so yesterday we talked about the results of the games that took place over the weekend. Playoffs are set. Schedules are set. And it is now time to see who can make it all the way to the big dance. Starting this weekend, round one of the wild card. So the first wild card game that we have on our docket here is the Raiders and the Bengals. Look, I think this one is a no-brainer. If you're betting in Vegas, if you're betting on a mobile app, the Bengals will easily dispense of the Raiders. The Raiders, they're playing tough, but they don't have a coach. I think that, their interim coach that they have right now should probably get a shot at winning the job. I think that they should, look at this year, look what he's done. He's had to deal with adversity. They still had problems with players even after they had the initial problem with the coach. So this was a year filled with distractions. The team looks like they play hard and believe in him. Obviously, they need to make a lot of moves in the offseason. A lot of questions about Derek Carr. Do they keep him? Do they get rid of him? But before you can decide what you're going to do with Derek Carr, you got to figure out what you're going to do with your coach. And again, Raiders have some decisions to make. I say you stick with the interim coach. You tell him he's probably not going to get the job. Give him the opportunity, however, to impress you. And if he impresses you, then Vegas, you keep him. Because again, I kind of like some of the things I saw from the Raiders. Yes, there were games that didn't look so good, but I'm not going to blame that on him. I'm not even blaming it on the team because you had all the outside noise and the consistent and constant distractions and problems with the Raiders this year. You got to see if he has the ability to calm all that down and to be able to get the Raiders focused on playing football. But focusing on this weekend, on this upcoming game, I'm giving it to the Bengals. It's not because of the distractions. It's not because of the coaching. I just think if you're going to go quarterback to quarterback, even with Derek Carr at 100%, fully focused, he just is not the better quarterback when it comes between Carr and Burrow. Not to mention the run game for the Bengals is stronger. The defense is stronger. Even though they are inconsistent, they are more consistent than the Raiders. So it's going to be a tighter game probably than most people believe. But again, I'm going to give the advantage to the Bengals defeating the Raiders. Also up on the docket on Saturday, Patriots, Bills, a rematch, round 3, if you will. Round 1, the Patriots embarrassed the Bills in the snow. Came into normal weather. Well, we won't say normal, but cold weather, but not quite the crazy cold of game number 1. Bills manhandled the Patriots. I think in this game, Bill Belichick's going to be better prepared. His defense will be better prepared. But even with that being said, I'm going to give a slight field goal advantage to the Bills. Again, I'm not a believer in the Bills. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl. However, you got a rookie quarterback on the other side of the field with the New England Patriots. You got Josh Allen, the starting quarterback, has been there for, 4 or 5 years already for the Buffalo Bills. Seasoned veteran, gained a lot of confidence in the fourth quarter of the season. So I'm going to give a field goal advantage to the Bills over the Patriots in the wild card game this weekend. Then, of course, you have the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Look, there's only one way. I'm going to give the advantage to the Buccaneers. And I don't think the Buccaneers walk all over the Eagles like they walked all over Carolina last week. But I'm going to say I would probably assume and would not be surprised if the Buccaneers won this game by 10. However, if the Eagles are going to have a chance to upset Tampa Bay, what it is simply going to take is the Eagles are going to have to get run heavy and stay run heavy. I get it. National media guys, all of them want to tell you how great this Bucs defense is. They're so great. They're so perfect against the run. No, they're not. Again, soft schedule, weak division, just like the Cowboys, just like Tom Brady had when he was in New England. Weak division, no competition, 6 victories guaranteed. Figure out how to win 4 more. That's all you got to do. Buccaneers did that, and I don't see them being a top-tier defense. Look, if they were a top-tier defense, how come they couldn't stop the lowly Dallas Cowboys? Again, another false team with false stats. We'll talk about them next. But the bottom line is, I'm telling you, if the Eagles attack the Buccaneers with the run and they stay consistent with the run, the Eagles can pull off an upset. Granted, it'll be a minimal upset by a field goal or so, but the Eagles can pull off the upset if they run and stay with the run and stay run heavy. I do believe the Eagles defense has what it takes, to keep Tom Brady and that offense in check. And I do not believe the Buccaneers have a high-powered offense. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It really has more to do with the level of competition they're playing. Again, they have a powder puff schedule. They don't play a lot of tough teams. And against some of the worst teams, just like the Cowboys, they put up a lot of points. But they don't seem to have the ability to do that when they're playing a very highly competitive team. And I believe the Eagles have the ability to play above their skill set on defense this weekend. And if they do so, and if they keep, and they can, because they are talented enough to keep the Buccaneers in check offensively, and they run the ball, control the clock, then the Eagles can pull off the upset by about 3 to 4 points. 49ers, Cowboys, run-heavy 49ers. We all know the story last weekend. Win against the Rams. We're down 17-0. 49ers surprised me. Shanahan is who surprised me, not the team. Shanahan is who surprised me. Stuck with the run. Didn't veer. Normally, in the past, he would have veered away from it and went to passing immediately and would have became pass-heavy and one-dimensional. He didn't do that this time. Maybe Shanahan has matured. I think he has. I think he's grown up a little bit when it comes to coaching. Glad to see it. Bottom line, stay run-heavy. Run hard. This Cowboys defense, another overrated, overpromoted defense by the national media. The 49ers should be able to gash that defense. They are not as good against the run as everybody says in the national media. The 49ers are going to expose that. Play action is going to kill that defense once that run game starts working. I think the 49ers gash the Cowboys by 10 or more. I really do. Cowboys offense, we all know, it's not very good. Weakness in the 49ers is the secondary. However, the weakness in the offense for the Cowboys is Dak Prescott. So pretty much those two things cancel each other out. Then you add in those alleged overrated superstar wide receivers for the Cowboys who can't seem to produce unless they're playing against a 500 or below record team. Then all of a sudden they can produce, but put them against playoff teams and they can't win games and they can't produce because they're not superstars. They're just overrated by the national media because the national media is in love with the Cowboys because they're all a bunch of Cowboy homers. So 49ers defensively will sack Dak Prescott, will pressure Dak Prescott, will be able to stop those wide receivers. So it's going to be a 49ers victory. I think they're going to handle the Cowboys on both sides of the ball, especially in the trenches. Steelers, Chiefs, no brainer. Chiefs are going to walk all over the Steelers. Won't even be a game. By mid-second quarter, everybody's going to sing Kubayas and give retirement gift cards, that is, to Ben Roethlisberger saying, hope you enjoy your retirement. Then on Monday, you have the Cardinals and the Rams. This one's interesting, but the Rams will win. But this one's interesting. The Rams are like, one of those teams that a lot like Minnesota in a lot of games, they're just right there. They're just short of winning that big game they need to win. And then when it comes to winning the games they're supposed to win, they win them pretty handily. This is a game the Rams are supposed to win. You got the Cardinals. No DeAndre Hopkins. Again, what have I said about Kyler Murray? Without a superstar wide receiver, he's not a superstar quarterback. The Cardinals have never had a run game. I know you will have some people try and tell you they do. No, against a couple, and only a couple, amazingly, against a couple of bad teams that the Cardinals played this season, they had the semblance of a run game. But again, it was only a couple of games, wasn't very many, and they've got a lot of injury-prone players. They can't stay healthy. That's the number one problem for the Cardinals. TJ Watt coming back, not a difference maker. Who cares? He doesn't sack. He's a shell of what he was 5 years ago to begin with. They overpaid for this guy because they wanted to bring in a name to make it seem like they were trying to build something special. And in reality, he was really just there just to placate the fans. The Cardinals didn't know they were going to have the early season success that they did, but the Cardinals now are playing like the Cardinals, and they're being coached like the coach of the Cardinals coaches. So you are basically watching real Cardinal football these last 7 weeks, and I'm expecting real Cardinal football when they play the Rams, and I think the Rams beat the Cardinals probably by 10 to 17 points. All right, that is going to do it for today's show. Tomorrow we do it all again. Don't you dare miss it. Remember, at Yay or Nay Podcast is the address to the Twitter page. Got a bunch of brand new poll questions up there for you. Go answer those questions. And then as soon as those polls close, I will bring you the results of those polls. You guys have a great day.